Deadpool and Wolverine was the gayest Marvel movie I've ever seen. I sat next to a gay couple in the cinema and it certainly got their approval, since every time the film mentioned Hugh Jackman's sexiness or any finger-snapping Yas Queen moments, my eardrums were stabbed with the most bone-chilling laugh I've ever heard. Deadpool was always a fun and mature franchise, but after the Disney Fox buyout, we all collectively agreed that our little R-rated Detective Pikachu was either going to be Thanos snapped from existence or Disney was going to silver spoon it and rebrand him as a child-friendly, washed version of his character. But we were proven wrong. Not only was Deadpool respected and brought into the main MCU continuity, kind of, he was given the privilege of having the first ever R-rated MCU movie. I had such low expectations for this film. All the marketing looked exactly the same, with the exact same one-liners and locations, which made me very conflicted. In my mind, I was thinking they either had too much vulgarity and off-the-walls bullshit that they could legally put into a public trailer, or that they just had nothing to show since it was just going to be another setup movie like Quantumania or Multiverse of Madness. It turns out it was both, but in the best way possible. I think we needed Deadpool 3 sooner. It really does feel like just a setup movie like all that came before it, but it feels more like Damage Control, in a good way. It felt like ripping a plaster off a wound but giving it a massive kiss better once it's done. After the Fox buyout, Disney really needed to make it clear how the MCU was going to proceed, because other than weird tidbits and cameos here and there, maybe to other Fox properties for example, it was not clear at all how they were going to respect and treat these franchises. We didn't need 2 seasons of Loki, 2 setup movies, and God knows how many other cameos were in the other films. Deadpool 3 drops the bullshit in its first minute, and in the most Deadpool 4 breaking way possible. Basically, it just felt like Marvel giving up and saying, yeah, you know all the confusion is just company licensing bullshit, so every Marvel thing ever under any company, just treat it as a separate universe or timeline in the same multiverse. Happy? Okay, now here's Deadpool absolutely mocking that idea and easing you into the confusion and bullshit without you needing to actually care anymore. We didn't need all these vague ass cameos and multiverse hint drops, we just needed Deadpool to say screw it, let's just plot hole my way into the MCU and make everyone feel easy about it all. This movie knows what it is, and it knows when to be comedic, sincere and crazy, similar to the first 2 movies. It makes for a fun satirical feeling romp around everything Marvel and Fox related, which is all we needed. Cameos galore are a given, I mean the trailers kind of spoiled that as a major possibility anyway, which was weird. But let's not forget Wolverine is a major part of this film, and the movie sure does respect his legacy after Jackman quit the role in Logan. Deadpool sure does make sure every part of Wolverine and his legacy is honoured within the first 10 minutes of the movie, in the most Deadpool way possible. So much so that I can't think of a single other way they could have reintroduced Jackman to the role better than this. Fox's Marvel era is over, but Deadpool 3 makes it very clear that they are not forgotten, and that this movie's very existence allows for anything created to not be devalidated by the buyout, and that the possibilities are endless now. Since I'm keeping this review spoiler free, it's hard for me to talk about some of the moments in this film, but all I can say is that Deadpool is extremely funny, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's chemistry is amazing, and both had pretty sufficient shared screen time and attention to detail in their character development. I really enjoyed this movie, but there were 2 major gripes I had with it. My first gripe is Wolverine's inclusion could have been explained better to give the movie more character depth and heart, that it kind of kept forgetting it was trying to portray all the time. Wolverine's inclusion is swift and hilarious, but the character has so many points in the film where his motivations and trauma from his universe are brought up, but not quite fleshed out. It felt almost like we just needed to sympathise with the Wolverine character as a whole, rather than this one variant, which I think is due to the movie doing too much tell not show, which at times made us not actually care what happens to this Wolverine, which was a shame since it did make the role feel more elusive rather than a big reintroduction to the MCU. I can't tell if Hugh Jackman is going to return or not, or if this Wolverine even got his whole character arc completed anyway. He kind of just goes along with the plot and bro hugs it out at the end. Anyway, my second gripe with the film is its weird pacing. Deadpool and Wolverine really is just a setup movie like all that came before, but like I said before, it feels more like Damage Control. It ripped that plaster off very successfully, but at times where the movie thinks it's being funny and witty and cool for pointing out the obvious exposition dumps, they still halted the pace of the movie to a standstill. When the movie does pick up now and then, it goes full throttle, and in these come down sections where it explains the whole situation, we kind of just get the idea already. We as the audience know the MCU and timelines are confusing, but the film made us easy about it at the beginning, but why did it keep bringing it up? Why? It didn't need to at parts, and it just makes you crave more chaos and fun that you typically expected from the high points of the film. Overall, this movie was extremely hype on first watch, but I can imagine my opinion of it souring on rewatch, which isn't too bad, but the mouth-frothing, screen-pointing moments can only happen once, so we're just left with the action and the unneeded pacing halts. Some of the jokes are going to be dated too, I think. Jabs at DC, Hugh Jackman's bloody divorce, and references to Marvel being in a tough spot. It will all likely date itself quite a lot. If I had to make an educated wish though, I would want this movie to stay well regarded for its willingness to cut the bullshit and respect everyone involved, all whilst telling another hilarious, fun and sincere story, giving us mindless fun while serving as important damage control for an entire legacy of characters and respected actors.